Winter mornings in Britain during the early 1960s began with stiff collars, polished shoes, and the quiet hum of classrooms that smelled faintly of chalk dust, furniture polish, and damp wool coats hung in orderly rows along the corridor. But if you had stepped into a girls' secondary school, or even into the girls' wing of a mixed school, you would have discovered that education was not simply divided by subject. It was divided by expectation. While boys were being introduced to lathes, steel vices, and technical workshops, many British girls were being trained in a different set of skills entirely. Skills considered practical, necessary, respectable. Skills that reflected the future society assumed they would enter. These were not optional lifestyle clubs. They were structured, examined, and taken seriously. And many of them barely exist today. Domestic science. The domestic science room did not resemble the cheerful television baking studios we know now. It felt more like a preparation room for adult responsibility. Rows of gas cookers were built into tiled walls. Heavy mixing bowls sat stacked beside enamel sinks. Cupboards were filled not with decorative ingredients, but with ration-conscious staples. Flour, dripping, sweat, lentils, tins of evaporated milk. Lessons were structured around competence, not creativity. Girls were taught how to plan a week's meals on a limited household budget. How to stretch mince into shepherd's pie for 6. How to calculate portions precisely so nothing was wasted. How to thicken gravy properly without lumps. How to prevent pastry from shrinking in the oven. If a sponge cake collapsed in the center, the teacher did not praise effort. She asked what went wrong. Temperature? Too much raising agent? Open the oven door too soon? There was a method to everything. Ironing was also taught with seriousness. A blouse was not simply pressed. It was pressed correctly. Sleeves aligned, creases deliberate, fabric smoothed without scorching. You learned to test heat against the inside seam before committing the iron to the visible surface. It was not framed as old-fashioned. It was framed as life. And many girls left school knowing exactly how to run a household before they were even old enough to vote. Needlework and dressmaking. Clothing. In 1960s, Britain was not disposable, and school reflected that reality. Needlework was not decorative crafting. It was maintenance, precision, and durability. Girls learned how to sew hems invisibly so that stitches would not show on the outside. How to attach buttons firmly enough to withstand repeated washing. How to reinforce seams at stress points so garments would last. You practiced backstitch, running stitch, blanket stitch, and overlocking by hand. Your tension was examined. Your spacing was graded. In many schools, older girls progressed to dressmaking patterns, learning how to read commercial templates and cut fabric correctly according to grain. A mistake in cutting meant wasted material, something no household could afford casually. The sewing classroom was often silent, except for the faint click of metal scissors and the soft pull of thread through cloth. If your seam puckered, you unpicked it. And you did it again. This was not about artistic self-expression. It was about producing something wearable, something durable, something respectable. In a world of fast fashion and next-day delivery, it feels almost astonishing that teenage girls once left school knowing how to alter their own coats. Laundry and fabric care. It may sound strange today, but some schools dedicated real time to teaching fabric maintenance. You learned which materials could withstand boiling and which would shrink. How to remove common stains, tea, ink, grease, using specific treatments. How to starch collars. How to air garments properly to prevent mildew in damp British weather. Washing was not yet fully automated in every household. Twin tub machines were common, but skill still mattered. You were shown how to wring sheets correctly to reduce drying time, how to hang washing so that weight distributed evenly along the line, how to fold linen crisply so it fitted neatly into cupboards. These were not trivial details. They were considered marks of competence. Secretarial skills and typing. By the mid to late 1960s, many girls were steered toward clerical training. Typing rooms were filled with heavy manual typewriters, their keys resistant and unforgiving. The air echoed with the clatter of synchronized keystrokes. You were taught posture first, back straight, wrists lifted, eyes on the page. Then came speed drills, repeated until your fingers moved without conscious thought. Mistakes were not erased with a click. They were struck through carefully, or the entire sheet was started again. You learned formal letter structure, proper salutations, indentation rules, carbon copy formatting, filing systems, dictation shorthand in some cases. Secretarial work was presented as respectable employment, stable, professional, appropriate. For many girls, this was their pathway into offices, banks, legal firms, and government departments. It was vocational, structured, serious, and it carried the quiet understanding that not everyone would attend university. Home economics budgeting. Mathematics lessons often looked different depending on who you were. While boys might be calculating timber measurements or engineering ratios, girls were frequently taught domestic budgeting. You learned how to divide a weekly wage into rent, food, coal, and savings, how to compare prices between shops, how to calculate cost per portion, how to stretch limited funds through careful planning. Teachers would create hypothetical household scenarios. Your husband earns £12 per week. You have 2 children. Rent is £3. Coal costs £1, 10 shillings. What remains? What must be prioritized? It was practical arithmetic grounded in real life. There was no calculator, only pencil, paper, and mental agility, and the assumption that financial competence inside the home was just as vital as financial competence outside it. Childcare and infant care. In some schools, older girls were introduced to childcare theory, not in the modern psychological sense, but in the practical sense. How to hold a baby correctly, how to sterilize feeding bottles, how to prepare formula safely, how to test bathwater temperature using the wrist. Some classrooms used weighted dolls for demonstration. Others relied on diagrams and instruction manuals. Lessons covered basic hygiene, early development stages, feeding schedules, and illness recognition. The tone was not sentimental. It was instructional. Motherhood was not framed as a romantic possibility. It was framed as a responsibility requiring preparation. And preparation began in the classroom. Religious and moral instruction. While religious instruction was part of many British schools in the 1960s, girls often experienced additional emphasis on moral conduct. Assemblies reinforced ideals of modesty, courtesy, and composure. Posture mattered. Language mattered. Presentation mattered. You were taught not only what to believe, but how to behave. Politeness was not optional. Neatness was expected. Uniform rules were strict. There was a sense that a girl represented not only herself, but her family. And school reinforced that quietly, daily, persistently. Physical education with poise. Physical education for girls often looked different from the rougher football pitches allocated to boys. In many schools, girls wore gym tunics and plimsolls. Activities included netball, rounders, rhythmic gymnastics, and structured drill movements. Grace was emphasized alongside strength. Posture correction was common: shoulders back, chin level, arms extended neatly. There was effort, certainly, but also restraint. You were not necessarily being prepared for competitive sport. You were being prepared to carry yourself properly. Cookery for efficiency, not entertainment. Unlike modern cooking classes framed around creativity and world cuisine, 1960s lessons centered on efficiency. How to cook economically, how to avoid waste, how to prepare filling meals with limited ingredients. You learned to use leftovers deliberately. Yesterday's roast became today's pie filling. Teachers stressed fuel efficiency too. Ovens were not preheated casually. Gas cost money. Coal cost money. Everything had consequence. It was a form of applied practicality rarely visible in modern classrooms. Grooming and presentation. Though not always formalized as a subject, grooming expectations were embedded within school culture. Hair was inspected, shoes were polished, uniform hems were checked. There was a strong emphasis on neatness and modest presentation. A girl who appeared disheveled was often corrected, not harshly but firmly. The message was subtle but consistent. Appearance reflected discipline. Preparation for marriage as stability. Perhaps the most defining difference of all was not any single lesson, but the quiet assumption beneath them. Education for many girls in early 1960s, Britain was framed around preparation for adulthood within a particular social structure. Marriage was common. Employment often temporary before marriage. Skills taught in school reflected this expectation. That did not mean girls lacked intelligence or ambition. Many went on to higher education, nursing, teaching, administration, science. But the curriculum itself carried an assumption, and assumptions shape subjects. The quiet seriousness of expectation. Looking back, it is easy to interpret these lessons as limiting, yet within their historical context, they were considered responsible preparation. A 16-year-old leaving school in 1964 might already know how to cook a week's meals from scratch, mend a coat properly, type 60 words per minute, balance a household budget, care for an infant safely, press shirts crisply, maintain linen correctly. School did not ask what she dreamed of becoming. It prepared her for what society believed she would become. Whether that made life more practical or more confined is something history continues to debate. But what cannot be denied is this: the classrooms were different, the expectations were clear, and many of those subjects have quietly disappeared. If you remember those domestic science rooms, those sewing tables, the rhythm of typewriters, and the smell of warm pastry rising in a tiled classroom oven, share your memories below. Because for one generation of British girls, those lessons were not unusual. They were simply school.